Mythic Plus. It's a controversial topic these days, and everyone's freaking out about it. I believe Blizzard's going to fix it. I'm more of a positive guy, typically, than Bellular. Ian Hazzikostas in recent interviews said that they're working on fixes, and they actually have a lot already in place, but they don't feel right implementing them mid-season, so they're waiting for the next season to implement some of those changes to get Mythic Plus back to where it needs to be. We've seen Mythic Plus in a good place before. Dragonflight Season 3 and 4 were some of the best Mythic Plus seasons I've ever played in the game. Why? They were easy, they were fun, good affixes, good dungeon selection pool. It was a good time. So Mythic Plus can be made great. Why Bellular here says it's unfixable, I'm not quite sure. And it's tearing WoW apart. He says, let's see why Bellular believes it's unfixable.
Yes, everyone, you read it right. It's unfixable. Its biggest problem simply cannot be solved. But I'm actually not being a doomer. I've come to realize that's great news, both for key pushers and dungeon dodgers.
What?
Because nobody's happy, and we finally see it. Across this season, we have seen hours of videos from big names. It started with Automatic Jacks, Blizzard needs to rethink Mythic Plus. Then there was Quasi's, why Mythic Plus is not fun right now. And then there was Liquid Max's, it's time to rework Mythic Plus, and a Podyssey episode called Is Mythic Plus Dying? That's literally hours of...
Hey, you said big names. Why didn't he mention my videos on Mythic Plus? What Samiccus' video? What the hell? What about my videos? Jeez.
Discussion over the biggest issues facing the game.
Wait, leave me out.
Affixes, pugging, spec imbalance, difficulty, gearing, and that's just to name a few. Now, these doomsayers are all World of Warcraft elite, they're key pushers, they're mythic raiders, so it could be easy for people who aren't that to think, oh, it's just top-end complaints, they don't apply. But nah, they're right, they do apply, just not always directly. I've came to realize the whole system is inherently flawed, and I think it's actually an opportunity for Blizzard, an amazing one, not to fix Mythic Plus, but to embrace that it's broken right now and to solve the entire thing. So, today we're going to explain that, and you're going to help me pay the lads with today's sponsor, who I'm absolutely thrilled to say.
Before he gets into today's sponsor, I just want to say one thing off the bat that really broke Mythic Plus. It's the tanking and healing changes. Whether or not this season had the best affixes, the best dungeon pool ever, the best, complete mix-up of everything that was going on, the key difficulties and all that, the changes to tanking have completely wrecked a lot of things. They've made a lot of things not fun anymore. Because the fact that everyone in the group has to worry about some random one-shot killing the tank and completely wiping the group it's not a fun mechanic. Okay, it's not. Yes, the godly tank phase was fun, but that's what it should have been. It should be that tanks are somewhat unkillable. They can be killed. If you completely fuck around, pull the entire dot, you should die. If you pull way too many pulls at once, you should die. If you take too many hits to the face from really hard-hitting mechanics, you should die. But if you are damage mitigating and trying to, manage your pulls properly, you should not be getting killed by stupid-ass, double stacks of a mechanic hitting you at the same time and the healer not popping off constantly. Those changes really did kill Mythic Plus. They even slightly killed raiding, but raiding can be overcome a lot of times because you've got a big raid group together and you can kind of overheal things. But when it comes to a 5-man group, those challenges are exacerbated, right? It gets really bad. So I think they just need to revert tanking changes. That's the first way to fix Mythic Plus.
Our Ridge, look, I use my Ridge key case every single day, and I've been using it since like a year ago, before we even had a deal with them. I love it. It's one of those upgrades that you actually feel every single day of your life, and right now, their holiday deals are actually on. They're up to 40% off, and that makes them such an easy gift to give. So here is the key case, right? It is slim, it is light, it is durable, it holds 6 keys. It keeps them together under the perfect amount of tension. You know what that means? You've got no key jangle, right? You don't have a key sticking into your leg in your pocket. There's a nice little clip in the back. It is so good. And also, I put my keys into it with a specific order and orientation, and that means that I always select the right key when I go to a door. And that's just
He's min-maxing his keys.
Things. And then, of course, there is the Ridge wallet. Now, this thing's awesome. RFID blocking, light, hyper-functional, and now they've even got a MagSafe compatible version, and there's even an AirTag holder as well. And the point is, right, I mean, this is just the best wallet, like, hands down. Ridge's range of attachments as well let you just customize the wallet to your exact
needs. How many credit cards can you put in that
thing?
thing?
The colorways that they have for all of their products look flipping gorgeous. And what I love about them is they're the perfect gift, because after using mine, well, I bought my dad one on Father's Day, and I've bought him his Christmas presents as well. They're awesome, up to 40% off using my link. And they're actually so confident that they give a 99-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty. So When you buy, you know you're actually going to be supported. Check them out. They're awesome.
There it is.
Okay, what's wrong?
Use the man's code and link. Here's the thing. I also see there's already conversations going on in chat about this. Sino talking about running with friends and getting a 2K. It's true that, yes, if you run with friends, if you run with people you know and people that you're used to playing with, you're going to have a better experience in Mythic Plus. The thing is, the majority of the people are pugging Mythic Plus. Those queues that you see, those are pugs, right? Everyone, most of the time, is pugging Mythic Plus. So if the puggable experience of Mythic Plus is bad, then the overall experience is bad. You can't just solve it by saying, well, you got to make friends then. We all know the majority of WoW players are degenerative people who barely have any social skills whatsoever, let alone the ability to touch grass and make a friend. Come on. We can't expect that of these players. So what do we got to do instead? We got to have good puggable content. And right now, Mythic Plus is just not good or puggable.
Well, obviously, it's a lot, and it starts with the first step. Deciding what to do. You see, delves cover early gearing in World of Warcraft faster than ever, so you'll probably only want to go into a Mythic Plus 6 or 7, right, and beyond. You won't have a key to start with, and starting a group is scary, especially if you're only beginning, so the obvious thing is to join a group. That kind of can't be done for most people. I mean, often you can't get into a group, at least not right away.
Yeah.
It could take all evening, and it actually got so bad that there were in-game protests over just finding a key to do.
Protests? What the fuck does that? There were in-game previous protests kind of popping off, but does anyone have a solution? What is a protest for? Oh, so they're just posting the key and not inviting anybody? The fuck is wrong with it? People got a lot of people on time on their hands. Here's the thing. The IO problem is also a problem because it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Say you want to get into Mythic Plus, you want to start trying, your IO is kind of low, so you're not going to get invited to any group with a decent person in it. You're going to get invited to a bunch of ragtags put together. Mythic Plus is really hard right now, so that ragtag group is never going to complete a key on time. Guess what happens? Your IO never goes up. Guess what happens when your IO never goes up? You never get invited to a group with actual people who can do the key properly. So then what do? You queue up again. Now you're in another ragtag group. Guess what? You didn't complete the key. Now your IO didn't go up again. Guess what? Now your IO is still low. Guess what? You're not going into a key with people who actually know what to do. So if you don't start the key early in the season, even if you're good at Mythic Plus, you will get stuck in elo hell. If you don't start the season and rocket your way off of that 0 IO and pump it up to a higher, whatever, 1,500, 2,000 plus, you're going to get stuck in really bad groups. And the groups are not really what's bad. It's the Mythic Plus difficulty that's bad. And it keeps people down the entire time. It's a really hard thing to get into. It is.
Theoretically, those were aimed at Blizzard's class balance, but the deeper truth is people are protesting each other, right? Players are only interested in inviting meta specs, but there's a reason there. That does mean, though, that if you play something that isn't a meta spec, your acceptance rate just plummets. And the same goes if you're playing a DPS as well, right? Very few people are interested in playing tanks or healers at the end of the day, and for good reason. They do at least twice the work of a DPS. And even if you make your own group to skip the whole invite phase, you're sat there.
Thank you. You're doing twice the work of DPS, and one thing that used to be okay with that is it's okay. You are a fucking god, right? You are pulling shit. You feel big dicked. You are not getting killed. You can handle things. Sometimes you survive that boss for another minute and get the kill by yourself. Those were always cool, badass moments that made all of this extra shit you have to do worth it. Now, you can eliminate, you got to do all this extra shit, but you're squishy as fuck. You're going to die if you don't have this guy healing your dick off or these guys DPSing the ads down properly. So no, it's not as fun as it used to be. So all of the added bonus to doing all this extra work has kind of been pulled away, which kind of sucks. Savvy, one thing pug groups need is to stick together. If you join a group and the group finishes the dungeon, go to the next key. Most often thing that people leaves and goes back to the group finder. Yeah, it's bullshit. I always say this as a tank. I understand the people on the other side are real people who maybe have 45 minutes to get this shit done. I talked about, Greg from accounting or Steve with the abusive wife, or maybe, your healer's some guy who's just been going through all his finals in college, and he just finally got 45 minutes between his study sessions or his beat-off sessions to get in a quick key run. Yeah, it's really bullshit when they put in half an hour and then somebody leaves because they realize we're not going to time this key. Even though you're going to finish it most of the time, we're not going to time it, so they just leave. It's a dick move. And I don't like it when it happens to me, and I don't like to do it to other people. That's why I stick around most of the time. So, sticking around will help keys a lot, but really it's that the difficulty in terms of what you're getting at a +6, which is really what you need to be doing if you don't want to just do delves, it's too much. It's too much right now.
DPS. And even if you make your own group to skip the whole invite phase, you're sat there waiting on a tank or healer anyway. And the
pre-recorded
problem is
reaction
worse again if you're actually doing keys that are appropriate for your Mythic Plus score or your gear level, and you're trying to improve yourself, because somebody who eclipses your score and item level will always take your spot. So you either suck it up and you play a meta spec, you learn to tank, you learn to heal, or you get lucky and finally it's time to play. Or should I say, to roll the dice, because you might get a dream run, that'll go well, but it might just be hell.
Yeah.
The tank pulls the first pack, but no kicks go out. A DPS dies, they blame the healer, they leave, and you're back to square one. All your time wasted. It could have taken so long to get into that group, and that's an Alt F4 moment. You're gone and you don't want to come back. And of course the thing here is, you can't tell.
I feel for DPS, honestly. The ones who wait this long to get into a group and then the group just falls apart after the first pull, yeah, that feels really bad. I wasn't even talking about Libras, I was referring to timing keys, and the group falls apart for all or most of the group to go back to the group. Oh, you're saying for groups to stick around and do another key together. Yeah, that's also a nice option. Maybe Blizzard could like give bonuses for things like that to happen. Like, hey, you guys did a key. If you do another key, you get an extra badge or something. I don't know what you could do with that. But yeah, people do definitely leave groups that time keys. They're really good, and they just go queue up for another one. And that's oftentimes because people need different keys, though. Like, the group might not have the key that, this guy wants because he's trying to push his rating up in one specific dungeon. That's probably why a lot of people end up leaving at the end.
Group's going to be successful. That's the root cause. Everybody who's played Mythic Plus has that scar. They've experienced doomed runs that have ruined their evening and set them back. People don't want it to happen again. So of course people will only invite the best players using the data they have. What is somebody's spec? What is their item level? What is their score? Now those all sound readily solvable, but that's kind of the problem. We're stuck here chasing the first order problems, but it's actually the foundations that are rotting. Is that just doomer talk? Well, let's try to fix them and we'll learn why. Fixing it without changing it. I mean, hey, step one, just balance it, right? Stop making meta specs, Blizzard. That's a very silly thing to do. I mean, there's an issue there. It's always impossible.
Well, I was going to say easier said than done. Even if they literally parsed out every single spec to be within 0.1 of each other, but 3 of the specs are 0.1 higher, guess what the degenerative WoW player base is going to do? They're going to play the ones that are 0.1% higher. Even though, in actuality, player skill matters way more than meta specs do, 100%. Because what you will often find in the meta specs is that the most noobs are playing the meta. Because they suck at the game, they suck at playing the class that they actually like playing, so then they go, oh, I'm going to switch to Shaman because it's really good right now, and guess what? They suck at playing Shaman. So you were actually better off inviting the guy who plays a Rogue and has played Rogue for season after season, is actually really good at the Rogue. That's the honest truth. You will find more noobs playing meta than not noobs. That's the truth. But, players are going to play, and it's hard to keep it all balanced. It's just how it is.
Going to be a spec that is the best. Blizzard could crush the skill ceiling, raise the skill floor, homogenize utility, homogenize damage profiles, but there's always going to be something that's a bit better, especially with Mythic Plus's endless scaling, and if they squish everything to be the same, the game will just be bland, man. And that's just the thing with endless scaling. At some point, no matter how Blizzard balances it, one spec will be necessary to counter the extremes of scaling. Yeah. A perfect example, the racial imbalance. At the lower levels, healers can just crush it and heal through certain dots. But you know what actually players are pushing up to something crazy like a 16? Well, the dots start to almost kill in a single tick. So the solution is to race change to a dwarf. Of course, for stone form.
But here's the thing: is that a real thing? Like, is Blizzard going to really market the game and create and bend the game entirely to people who are pushing plus 21 keys? Like, does that make any sense? I don't understand why that's ever a thing. Like, okay, if somebody at the very top end, like what gets them off is pushing a key to 21, and they're going to race change to make it happen, let them do it. Who gives a shit? 99% of the player base does not have that issue. That's not a real thing. Most of us are doing our plus 10s or whatever to fill the vault, and that's it. Who the hell cares about a racial ability that's going to give you 0.01% greater chance of survival in a plus 21? You'll never be able to create the game in a balanced way if that's what you're going to try to balance towards.
Which is an instant self-dispel. That makes the dungeon actually possible in that context. Not just easier, possible because they hit that hard. Now, obviously, that's not necessary to Mythic Plus 7, But it does kind of help, doesn't it? And so it slowly becomes the meta, and even where it's absolutely not necessary, as a player just playing regular World of Warcraft, you're going to feel it. Blizzard could
the funniest thing about it all is you see like the average Joes out there, you just your regular player being like, well, I saw Team Liquid running full dwarf groups, so I'm switching to dwarf. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Steve? No one gives a shit that you're playing a dwarf or not on a +6, run. That is for literally like a +25. Everyone's maxed out, playing their dicks off. No one gives a shit about you playing dwarf in a +6. You don't have to switch because that's what Team Liquid did. But again, you see people doing that all the time, and typically it's the most like noobified people, like people who think like that's gonna make them better at the game. No, just be good at the game, and that'll be more than enough.
Make the meta less
Play what you like and get good at what you like. That's what matters.
There's always going to be a meta. Nobody solved it in gaming. As soon as people hit a wall, they will optimize who they invite. Step 2, let's just increase the amount of tanks and healers so that we get more runs happening. I mean, hey, if we bribe DPS to swap over, well, actually, we're bribing them. They won't have fun. So let's try to make the lives of support players a bit less hell. As an example, tanks. I mean, you guys bear all the responsibility to route the dungeon, pull the mobs, position the mobs, and you end up doing the lion's share of mob management. I mean, others could help, but you guys do it. Healers bear all the responsibility.
Mitka, make tanks great again. There is no fun in playing tank right now. They used to be fun. Make it fun again, because it is a chore to play as a tank. You do have a lot of responsibility on you, so you should have additional bonus of fun on top of you as well.
Responsibility for health bars, so maybe let's fix that by lowering incoming damage, reducing dispels, scaling health bars, and tweaking mob packs.
And for the healers too, fixing the tanks will fix the healers. The part of why healing sucks right now is because tanks suck. And healers now have to... Before, healers could, like, ignore the tank, essentially, and let them do their big dick things while they focus on healing up the DPS. Now, healers have that added, issue of needing to understand mini boss fights to the max, because they know that big dick hits are coming in on the tank, and they're going to have to heal at the proper time to overcome that, because the tank has become squishy now thanks to all the changes. So fixing tanks will fix healing. Fixing tanks will fix a lot of things.
Great, that's fixed.
Maybe I'm biased because I play tank.
But, not really. Do you remember this loading screen tip in the game? If you make it easier to keep your health bar above 0, but you don't change the difficulty of the dungeon, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to make bringing the enemy's health bar down harder. And that's where the timer comes in. If tanks and healers end up having it easier, and DPS really is what defines a win or a loss, then, well, the DPS will need to do more damage. But how do you do more damage beyond that? Well, inevitably it leads to the tanks being forced to pull harder and harder, and that brings us back to square one. And if the game just was to say, no, if you pull 2 packs, you instantly die, that would be awful. So no matter what, with the current design, responsibility will always land on the shoulders of the tanks and the healers.
Yep.
That's just the way it is. Even if it's clearly, say, the DPS refusing to use their interrupts or their stuns. For as long as WoW's existed, death has been a healing problem, and that's just how healers feel, and that's why there's not a lot of them in the queue. Step 3 then, fix the group trust issue. Well, that's kind of hard because it gets to the heart of a very long-running problem in World of Warcraft. You've probably seen this video from Folding Ideas that came out.
The problem is the eye level /IO stuff. Oh my god. Oh my god. Mr. GM. Bringing 104 into our Scourge. Holy big dick rate. Thank you so much, Mr. GM. I appreciate that. Welcome in, Mr. GMers. Mr. GM just brought you guys in at the right time, because now you can just watch 1 hour of this shitty stream, get yourselves a point to enter into the Long Boy giveaway. That's right, the Brutosaur giveaway ends tomorrow, so get yourselves a chance. Watch the stream for a little bit, get a point, enter into the giveaway. That's all it takes. Thank you again, Mr. GM. If you got to peace out, go ahead. I know it's late where you live.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
Chili Spoon, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. What we're doing right now is we're about to enter raid. We're gonna go kill heroic Queen Ansarek.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
Curiously, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. We're gonna go do that, but before we do, we were just talking about the current state of Mythic Plus. Watching this Bellular video, just going through some of the issues that I see, some of the issues chat sees, and talking about how Mythic Plus could be made better for the next season.
While ago, and it highlights our main issues here.
Welcome. Yes, thank you guys.
Suck, you're wasting people's time. And it doesn't help that Blizzard have designed Mythic Plus to double down on how much you've wasted people's time. I mean, there's the responsibility ratio. In a heroic raid, you can survive a few mistakes.
To this realm.
Brendan Lee, thank you, Brendan C.
But in a 5-man dungeon, oh, that's tight. You can't. There's only a few people. It's rude to suck in a Mythic raid, but it's much more rude to suck in a Mythic Plus. There's fewer people. Everybody's got more responsibility, and the penalty is way higher than just...
Again, I swear, I sound like a broken record right now, but it does go back to the tanking changes again. It does. Because, like he just said, it's if you suck in a raid, it shows a little bit less, right? Because you got the massiveness of the fact that you're in a raid and people can overcome your shittiness because there's a lot more people in the raid who can push things a little bit higher. When it comes to tank defects, it can be overcome more easily in a raid when you've made tanks more squishy because you've got more heals, you got more things going on. You also have an off tank, so you're taunting between each other, doing that kind of stuff. In a Mythic Plus, everything is multiplied by 100 because now you only have 5 people. Now you only have 1 healer and 1 tank. So the issues with tanking are far more, obvious. They're far more, it's much more in your face, right? Everything's squishy and it hurts more. And I just think these changes need to be reverted big time.
Respawn and corpse run. And that brings me to the difficulty split. LFR is queued. You actually have guaranteed success. Normal is a step up, but it still is a cakewalk if you've got a few people who know the fight. Heroic, well, that does need more people to know the fight, but Mythic, well, that's an entirely different kettle of fish, right? Different game mode entirely.
Yeah.
20 players, fixed, locked to a single ID. It is almost unpuggable. Most people therefore cap out at Heroic because they look at Mythic and they will instantly know if that sort of gameplay is or is not for them. It's binary,
Yeah. Most people are not in like guilds that are constantly running raids and stuff. Like a lot of you guys just raid with me here in stream. That's why, Heroic is really our end game. It's the average man's end game. The guy with a wife and kids and a job and all kinds of shit going on. That's your end game. Heroic raiding. Mythic raiding is more of a job. It's more of a commitment, and most people just don't have that time anymore. But it's a completely different game mode. The fights are even different. So Heroic really is the end game, and that's what things need to be catered to. That's why I feel like a lot of these tanking changes and shit, they were made to try to cater to people running plus 25 keys and running Mythic raids for Race to World First. You can't make the game that way. Then you're leaving out 99% of the player base. You're just making the game for 1%ers. What the hell? Why would you do that? Why would anybody imagine you open up a fucking bakery shop. You got the Stormwind Bakery right here. Imagine the baker here in the window decides 1% of my customers want seeds on their bagels, so I'm going to put seeds on all my bagels. Guess what you've just done? 99% of the customers don't like your bagels anymore. What the hell are you doing? How does that make who runs a business that way? That makes no freaking sense. So again, a lot of these changes, the tanking changes, everything that happened is because of the 1%ers, and it shouldn't be that way. Blizzard need to rethink how they balance things.
Not with Mythic Plus. It's the same system the whole way up. And this is where the problem
starts. And get your smack and sunflower seeds,
You finish gearing from delves or outdoor content, but your gear isn't finished. The game's reward system literally says, hey, you can get 2 more upgrade levels if you just get some gilded crests. Where are you going to get those? A Mythic raid? No, you're not going to be pugging those, especially if you say a Delves player. That's how you're gearing your characters. And the goal of WoW is to get more gear, so what's going to happen? Raid or Mythic Plus? Raid's a bigger time commitment, but I suppose Heroic is reliably a puggable thing, so maybe with that done, you're left with the game pushing you into Mythic Plus, the only place to go. Even Ian has said in interviews that he knows the Delves are dropping hero-geared people into
That's exactly the issue, too, is that Delves are now putting you at a plus 6 key item level. Like, the only thing you're going to go do Mythic Plus, at the end of the day, because gear is the main motivator in this game, is if you've done Delves plus 8 and you're just doing level 8 Delves all the time, that's great. You're getting what basically is going to give you from a plus 6 Mythic dungeon. The thing is, when now you want to convert yourself over, okay, I've maxed out my gear through Delves, I want to do some Mythic Plus to push my item level higher. Guess what key level you're dropping yourself into? Plus 6 and 7. Good luck with that. That's a horrible way to start your experience. So I do think that the way that they give out gear, because Mythic Plus is certainly a more difficult, it's a more difficult content than Delves are. If you start gear earlier, if you give higher gear at earlier keys in Mythic Plus, it'll alleviate some of these issues because people will start joining at lower key levels and learning how to do Mythic Plus at a lower key level like it was intended to be. Also, if you're raiding, same thing. If you're doing Heroic Raid and you jump into Mythic Keys, you're not going to do anything than like a plus 8 or lower because you want to get a gear that's actually better than what you're getting from the raid. That just makes sense.
And 7s from delves, but they haven't worked their way up, and they really struggle. So maybe the issue isn't actually with Mythic Plus. Maybe it's that these people are doing Mythic Plus. They shouldn't be. Why shouldn't put them there? So here's the deal. This is an excellent talk.
Yeah, or you can do what Deathcam's saying, right? Yeah, maybe these people just aren't Mythic Plusers. Maybe you give better gear from delves. The issue is it does kill the Mythic Plus system because WoW players are like water. They're going to follow the path of least resistance to the highest item level. So whether people like delves or not will not determine whether they run delves if it's giving Mythic gear. They're just going to run delves because it's just easier. It's a much easier piece of content. So that's the other. It's a tough thing to balance. I'm not saying the devs' jobs are easy and I have all the answers. I don't. I just know it's been said before. WoW players are good at finding the problems. They're not good at creating the solutions. I don't know exactly what the solution would be here, but I do think maybe offering better gear at earlier keys in Mythic Plus would make Mythic Plus more relevant. I don't know if adding better gear on the back end of delves is the way to go. And maybe both work. I don't know.
One of many from marketing legend Rory Sutherland. And one thing that stuck with me is how we so often get trapped. We see a problem, we try to solve the problem directly, instead of imagining how to go around the problem or above the problem. Here's an example that he often uses: train journeys. Instead of trying to hyper-optimize the speed of the train journey by a few more minutes, how about you instead just try to make the journey a bit more pleasant? I mean, nobody's going to be absolutely mad if their commute is just a little smidge longer if the commute itself is a good experience.
True.
And the reason why this is important is because making a train go faster could cost hundreds of millions. In the UK, probably billions or trillions. And it's not going to guarantee success. It's an unknown engineering problem. But making the experience better, it's a way more known quantity.
That's true.
So let's bring it to Mythic Plus, lest you all start getting memories of Grimrail Depot. Instead of spending loads of time and effort balancing meta specs, and hey, do actually spend time to make the game balanced, obviously, but as we've talked about, that can never truly be fixed.
Yeah, I'm not saying they shouldn't try to balance out classes when I was talking earlier about this. The thing is, it is impossible. It's impossible, legitimately. So they should try and put forth their best effort to balance out classes, but at the end of the day, it's never going to be truly balanced.
Think outside the box.
So it's not the real
solution. Here's what that kind of looks like. If inviting is a problem, instead of fixing the invites, skip the invites entirely. Make Mythic Plus a solo queue. That may seem insane, but there are natural breakpoints to cut that off. Maybe it's Mythic Plus 10 because that's where the affixes become fixed. Maybe you set up a rated queue from a +2 to a +10 because look, all that you need to know is, are the people I'm being mixed in with?
So here's the thing. If it's solo queuable and you depend on the system to basically go through IOs and create a balanced group maybe of experienced/inexperienced players, put together the group automatically, yes, that does eliminate the issue of people looking at IOs and just completely not inviting people and some people never getting a chance to truly get into the Mythic Plus system. The other thing is, if people leave the group, then you block them out of the system, right? Just the same way that you get when you leave an automatic queue for something else in the game. That'll somewhat stifle the levers of Mythic Plus. But the issue is Mythic Plus is a timed event. And when somebody leaves, the key is broken. So how do you push people to finish the key, but not lock people into a key that's taking 2 to 3 hours or something, and they don't want to leave because they're going to get blocked out of the system from requeuing again? It's a tough one. It's a tough one to balance out. The way I've seen it, and I've said this before, is I think Mythic Plus, once the key times out, once your time has run out, I think you should be able to re-invite people. I think people should, once the timer runs out, because, it's whatever it is. If you've queued up for Mythic Plus, you should have, you've contractually agreed to a 32 to 40 minute run. That's what the timer is. That's what you've agreed to. You've said, okay, I have enough time to do this in the time allotted, right? So once that time runs out, if you want to leave at that point, I think it would be okay. The one thing that I think should be allowed is to fill your vault still. I think you should be able to backfill the group. You should be able to invite people from outside to come finish the key run, to at least finish out the vault, to get your vault slot. And then beyond that, the experience doesn't feel as bad anymore. And then you can go queue up for another key and try to time the next one. And your key shouldn't break. It should just remain at its level that it was. Because that breakage of keys also feels bad.
Good at the game. Are they supposed to be here? Well, the matchmaking system can actually do that. If somebody is in your 10, you know they've at least timed a 9, and you're all going to have to get on with it anyway. Rather than an incentive for right-clicking, leaving party, hearthing away, and finding a new key, well, Blizzard could actually punish you by saying, you don't get into the queue, you're treating people badly. Maybe that begins to mend things. Now, the plus 12 and beyond, key-pushing meta-slave land that actually people love because it's fun to push things to the extreme.
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
that'll still exist. It'll be just like Mythic raiding is today, where if you're a heroic raider, yeah, you know, normal, LFR, normal through heroic, that's all one big curve. But Mythic, everybody knows it's a different kettle of fish. That doesn't happen in Mythic Plus. With a system like this, well, guess what? It actually would. You should make solo queuing the default way for Pug players. And what's vital is that the matchmaking is actually based on what the system knows people can do. You just need to design it well.
Yeah.
So many other games have done this.
If it's an automatic system, certainly the design of the system and its ability to put together groups that make sense will matter. And that'll determine whether or not the system is liked by the player base or not.
And there's the keys themselves. They've got to change. Maybe keys should just die, but for sure one thing needs to die, and that's depletion. What the hell is depletion?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Now that keys can manually be depleted, it's just that last layer of punishment that is stubborn and almost a bit sadistic.
Yeah.
No other part of WoW punishes you for failure by setting your progress back. I mean, maybe the corpse run's a bit bad, but come on. That's peanuts to depletion. Depletion sucks.
Yep. And by the way, that's what made WoW popular to begin with. That's why people loved World of Warcraft. It's the noob's MMO. It never punished you. EverQuest was far more punishing because if you died, you lost an item, people could loot your corpse. It was a horrible experience. It was very punishing. World of Warcraft just made you do a corpse run. It was the noob's way of dying. Oh, you got some armor damage? You go repair yourself. You'll be fine. Same thing with Mythic Plus. That's how it should be. It should follow the same strategic way that the entirety of WoW follows. You don't really get punished for dying or attempting hard content. You get some armor repairs maybe, but that's beyond that, that's it. Mythic Plus keys should not deplete. They shouldn't. That's a very true statement. Yes, you don't get to the same gear because you didn't time it. That's fine. But the key breaking is just like an added kick in the balls for no reason.
Removing that would reduce how goddamn miserable it can feel to fail. And we've all seen people's comments online. World of Warcraft makes them anxious and unhappy so often, even though they actively want to play the game because they fundamentally like it and they want to achieve their goals.
True.
And we've got another issue too. Long queue times for tanks and healers. We could try to get creative with that. I mean, tanks and healers are responsible for everything, while DPS are only responsible for their damage. How could we possibly rebalance this? Well, Blizzard kind of already knows how. They use Kiss Curse mechanics, and they can do that to make DPS players do things other than mash keys. Here's a great example. In Final Fantasy XIV, yeah, the other MMO, the devs saw the DPS players were just standing in the fire because, well, they could just get some more damage off and parse better. So to solve this, they added damage downs, as in, if you get hit, you'll do less damage, you'll get a debuff. And Blizzard, that's the point. You need to align incentives with the desired behavior, because with damage downs, the mistakes of a DPS player will hurt their DPS, the thing that they care about, not only just their health, the thing that the healer cares about. And that means that it's the DPS player's problem, not just the healer's problem. And that aligns incentives within the group. I mean, perhaps if you don't have a defensive ability up for a certain boss, maybe it stuns you, maybe you get a haste decrease, and that means that, again, your incentives are aligned with your healer and your tank as a DPS player. So many specs already get tiny bonuses for interrupts. Why don't we take that and go radically further than ever before? Blizzard.
The Kiss Curse mechanics are a They're a great way to incentivize people to do mechanics, to stop tunnel visioning and parsing your dicks off. You don't got to do that. If they give Kiss Curse, if you get a buff for interrupting, guess what people are going to do? They're going to interrupt. If you give people a buff for doing the key mechanic properly, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the key mechanic properly. Blizzard did lean on that. They finally did add some Kiss Curse back to the game. The issue is the mechanics absolutely are fucking garbage. The stuff that they make you do in keys right now absolutely sucks. Blank, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. It's horrible. So they got to fix those, make them actually fun to do, and then give you a bonus for doing them. That's a good way to get people to do them. Mr. Donovan, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
World is your oyster. You need to see outside of the prison you've locked yourself in, and you need to dare to try. But here's the thing, even that's not enough, because We all know what it's like when the worst happens, when you encounter one of those people, right? The people who know nothing, who deflect blame, who rage, the people that you could sort of say are the unteachables. Can we fix that? Can we teach them? I think the answer is no and yes. Yes and no. You see, World of Warcraft is awful at teaching people how to succeed in Mythic Plus. The community, me, we all say it. But that's actually not new. Just about no competitive games really do that. There's no Valorant University in the game that's proper.
Yeah.
Player improvement comes from what folding ideas, as Dan Olson rightly labels as paratext because of his delightfully wrinkly literary brain. Paratext is basically just external sources. If somebody wants to learn Mythic Plus,
add-ons,
they can. They'll be tuning into the Podyssey and the regular, just like how, you can find resources online and know what do you buy in the shop.
Yeah, I mean, as a tank, I'll use Keystone Guru to see what the best, tanking paths are, which groups I should pull, which ones I shouldn't. Sure, yeah, that's definitely a thing that you go outside research to learn. Do I sometimes wish there was like a practice academy or something, like you could go to the academy out in, what's it called, the Dragonflight City? Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on it. Whatever it is, Valdrakken. Go to the academy, you enter like this practice mode, and maybe it highlights the best polls, right? Like the most efficient way to run a dungeon, and you practice it a couple times, then you go queue for a Mythic Plus. Yeah, as a tank, I think that'd be pretty cool. That's not a thing that they added in the game. I don't think it's something they have to have. It'd be something cool if they had. Otherwise, yes, you got to go to external resources to learn shit. Alzheimer's is strong. No, yeah, it's just, not enough coffee yet.
Up in League of Legends, how does one even do a Valorant?
Mr. Dad Gamer here too, what's up?
Is that some people don't want to learn. Even if we laid out
Thank you
the
for
resources,
your service, sir.
They wouldn't do it. So let's take another inspiration from Rory Sutherland and try to go around or above the problem. Maybe we'll even burrow beneath it. If our problem is that some people don't want to learn Mythic Plus, why would he bother trying to teach them? The solution is that people should not be playing Mythic Plus if they in no way really want to and couldn't be bothered to learn. Nobody benefits from them being there, including them. Ian said in a recent interview that they want to keep incentives for people to graduate to group content. Look, Ian, I respect you, not an attack. I think you're just holding on to some old wisdoms, and that's totally fair and okay because, goddamn, the same for me. World of Warcraft's an old game. It's been around for such a long time.
True.
How do we even know what's right or wrong anymore? I've got to admit that's probably what keeps the dev team actually up at night. But here's the thing. I think in the current gearing system, Delve scaling up to rewards, I don't know, just shy of myth items from the vault, it could almost make perfect sense if you just let Delves be really hard and have a proper progression track.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you added myth track gear, mythic level gear to Delves, they'd have to become very difficult, almost like Mage Tower-esque content, right? Because you can't make it super easy like it currently is and give mythic level gear because, like I said, WoW players are water. They're going to follow the path of least resistance to get the best gear, and that'll just be what everybody does. I personally think the way to fix it is to add better gear towards the earlier parts of Mythic Plus, because Mythic Plus is not easy content. Even at a +2, +3, +4, all the Mythic Plus, right? They're gonna be like, Sam, you're a fucking noob. That's easy shit to do. It is easy, but the gear that's rewarded from it is not equivalent to its level of difficulty compared to other shit that you can do for the same level of gear. There's easier ways to do it. That's what I'm saying. So as long as that's the case, then those keys are going to be irrelevant. You got to add better gear towards the front end of Mythic Plus.
It would be different, but Delvers are going into Mythic Plus, and they're absolutely hating it. And that's wreaking havoc in the people who actually like Mythic Plus. So let's let people achieve their goals by doing the content that they like. Let's nudge people up their comfort zone within Delves.
Also, can I just say something? Rating went through this, right? Rating went through a phase where they created 300 mechanics for every boss. Anduin, if you did Anduin, I feel bad for you, because I did, and that was absolutely a fucking mentally destructive boss. I was bleeding out my ass after running that guy 365 times, because he had 50 different one-shot mechanics. And then Blizzard noticed, that's not the way to make rating. That's not fun content. And since then, they've made things much easier. Do they keep end bosses a bit difficult? Is Razageth a difficult fight? Yeah, but it's fun. Is, right now, Queen Ansarek, is she a difficult, heroic fight? She is, but she's also fun. There's that level of difficulty in that, yes, you progressed all the way to the raid, final boss can be a bit harder, that's fine. But there used to be a time where, the third boss was like a brick wall. You guys remember Halandris and how hard that was before they had to nerf him into the ground to make him doable? That was bullshit. Ben, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. So Blizzard redacted that, made things much easier, and current raids are much easier than they were in Shadowlands. But for some reason, they're doing the same thing now in Mythic Plus. Ben, thank you for the Prime sub. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you. And Chode Efficient. What a name. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Your very wide follow. I appreciate it. It's a wider follow than it is long. That's fantastic. They've done the same thing with Mythic Plus now. What are they doing? Why does every boss now have 36 mechanics? These are mini boss fights now. Like, there was a time when a Mythic Plus run was really tanking and spanking until the final boss, and there were a couple mechanics here or there. But now, every single run, you gotta know and to understand the encyclopedia of the boss to do the fight. It's ridiculous. I don't know why they've decided, okay, raiding is going to go back to being easier, but now we're going to make Mythic Plus, or just dungeons in general, like dungeon bosses, extremely difficult. It makes no sense. Yeah, without lube. Yes, thank you, exactly. It makes no sense. They need to make dungeon bosses easier again. It's okay if the last one has a couple mechanics, but every boss to have 3, 4, 5, 6 phases now is ridiculous. It doesn't need to be that way.
Rather than trying to kick them out of their desire zone into Mythic
Watch your
Plus,
videos on YouTube. Oh, thanks. Welcome in.
It doesn't make sense. They'll never enjoy it. They'll never learn it, even if we put all the time and effort in the world into making resources. Let's not throw people into the deep end of content they don't like. Either that, or perhaps rework gear.
Give a specific example. The fucking boss the robot boss who pulls the fucking crates across, and then you've got the lava exploding. You gotta go stand in the right spot. You're literally running around like a fucking insane person during that fight. You know which one I'm talking about? I don't know his name. Okay, I don't have enough space in my brain to remember his name, but I do know the fight. That boss is a raid boss. He's got a crazy amount of mechanics. For what reason? Why is there that many stone vaults? Yeah, why? Does anybody find that boss enjoyable? Does anybody say that's my favorite boss in the game right now? No. Because it's a fucking stupidly hard boss for no reason. He's a group killer boss. He is. It's ridiculous. So that doesn't need to happen. We don't need that shit. There's nothing clever by Blizzard by designing a dungeon boss that's got 36 mechanics. Hothus, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Does that make sense? That's what I'm saying. Just give me some tank and spanks. That's all I want. Grim Batol is just shit all the way through. Yeah.
System somehow offered a satisfying way for somebody to reach Mythic Plus 5, be happy with a dungeon as it is like that, and just feel that they could stop.
Move to the vents, interrupt the short dude.
That's not how House Gears designed. And by now you'll have noticed the clear pattern. I'm not talking about, oh, this is what we need to do to evokers to fix the immediate problem. These are the big picture things, systems, incentives, not actually fixing Mythic Plus itself. Why am I not trying to fix Mythic Plus in a video about fixing Mythic Plus? Look, there's a reason for that.
Are we saying we should never die? No. No, I'm not saying we should never die. I'm just saying overly difficult 3-phase bosses are not necessary in a dungeon for the second boss in a dungeon. Is there anything overly difficult about Scarlet Monastery? Is there? It's one of my favorite dungeons of all time. Is there anything overly difficult about any of those bosses? No. Do people still die in those dungeons? Yes. But it's literally something that once you know it, it's you're jumping, you're doing the things. There's nothing too crazy about it. It's not on the level of, say, a Razageth fight. It doesn't have to be. It's a freaking dungeon. Yes, do things hit harder in Mythic Plus? That's about it. That's all it should be. It should not be 36 mechanics to memorize. That's what I'm saying. Oh, avoid the orb.
Mythic Plus is good. When it works, it really works. When you're in locks.
You're Tan Man, you just said like 3 different mechanics in that fight. Avoid the orb, jump on the vents, dodge the crates, and then DPS at the same time. And, oh, by the way, you're doing all that. The tank is squishy as fuck. The healer's trying to heal, and the DPS trying to DPS. It's not a fun fight. It's just not.
Step with a group of people, maybe a pug. Probably not, but whatever. It pushes WoW's excellent combat and class design to the limits. There's nothing else like it. And personally, it's not for me. That's actually okay. It might not be for you either. World of Warcraft has got plenty of things for me to like say raids. I love raiding. I always have. So Blizzard, don't gut Mythic Plus or try to make some strange one-size-fits-all solution so that I can go and do it and gear up a character. Don't damage delves to force people into Mythic earlier, right? Don't do that. We need to go above the problem. We need to target the desire that causes the behavior that leads to the problem, that leads to all the symptoms that players feel.
You see this boss? This boss is fine. You stay inside the circle. She drops a bunch of splooge on the ground. You move out of the splooge. You stay in the circle. Perfectly fine. Nothing too complicated. A little bit of a frontal to avoid. Okay, fine. But the problem is, in every single dungeon, there's about 2 or 3 of the bosses that are not fine, and it just gets ridiculous.
And to make Mythic Plus itself
it's an easy
better,
boss, yeah.
I know you guys
Good
listen
boss.
to Max, Jack, Putty Seed, Dratnos, and friends, all of them. They're your guys to go to for the deep specifics. But perhaps before you hit those details, consider
Orbs and
this.
stunts, right.
Tanks are kind of too weak and imbalanced. The difficulty curve.
Oh my god, I forgot. Don't forget, Tan Man and everyone else, the affixes are popping during the same fucking fight. The one that I just talked about with 4 different mechanics, oh, you got an affix on top of that now where Zalateth's going to pop out and spread her cheeks and you got to freaking, like, avoid the blind spot or something. All that shit's going on top of that. That's not fun. I don't find that fun. I don't. If I wanted something that complicated, I'd go raid.
Is really steep. Races being or feeling mandatory is really dumb. Getting 5 crests instead of 12 for a deplete is brutal. Depletes are brutal and stupid and needlessly sadistically punishing. People have already lost their time and not achieved their goal and not got as many crests. Some dungeons are fine, but others are a nightmare. There's a lot of difference there. But the number one complaint people have is other people ruining the experience for them. That's the number one problem. The number one reason why people can't actually play Mythic Plus when they want to. Because if you make the right changes, those problem players, the people who are just in Mythic Plus for gear without actually wanting to respect the game mode, so that even if you try to train them, they won't listen. Well, if the game lets them self-select out of the Mythic Plus player base, that will heal the ecosystem. People will slowly begin to have more understanding and willingness and faith that actually they can do a Mythic Plus and they won't get some random shithead who bricks their key and wastes their time. So Blizzard have an out here. Keep Mythic Plus as a beloved pillar of World of Warcraft endgame. Don't stress yourself in fixing its immediate problems, because if all of your effort goes there, we're not going to see the big picture. Think outside the box. See those problem players? You're not going to change them. It's not on you. You can't change them. You need to accept that. They're going to do what they enjoy. And that doesn't need to be your problem. That's your opportunity. Work out what they enjoy. Get them out of Mythic Plus. Okay, your game will be happier for it. Good luck. Ah, shit, that was so much. I don't even have a recommendation, so you know what? Just watch this next. It'll be great. Sure, go watch this.
I don't know if he gave many solutions. He did talk about the problems, and there are problems for sure. I don't agree with the title, though. Mythic Plus is unfixable. I don't think it's unfixable. I think there are fixes that can be had. I think, I'm going to say the devs will do their best to fix it. And I think Season 2, at a minimum, whether or not it's going to be the same greatness as Season 3 Dragonflight was, I don't know. But will Season 2 be better than Season 1? I think so. And the reason why is because Blizzard has themselves acknowledged that the season right now is not good. They know it's not good, and they're going to make changes, and hopefully those changes lead to a better season. That's about it. They can't fix toxicity. No, but there's some things that breed extra toxicity that's not necessary. That they can try to get rid of.